Another week down and another awesome chapter in the book of Acts. Acts 22 is what we covered this week. And it was brought to my attention that uh, somebody or some people thought that this was just like me kind of doing a Bible study and then posting it online. I just want to remind everybody that this is our men's group on Saturday mornings at the Forge Training Center from 9 to 11. And I take notes. I guess you can't really see them. I take notes on all the different things that we talk about, the different talking points, things in the chapter that stood out, things in the chapter like why was that brought up. Sometimes we do a little research afterwards, just to kind of like dig a little deeper into the chapter. But these are not all my thoughts. I can't take credit for all of them. Some of them are, some of them are not. And so just remember that this is not like just coming from me. So I just wanted to clear that up for anybody who thought that way. But yeah, so chapter 22, right? If you remember, chapter 21, Paul is getting ready to speak in Jerusalem. He's caused some problems. They've arrested him. They've taken him. He says at the end of 21, he says in 38, in 38, they ask him, "Are you not the Egyptian who recently stirred up a revolt, led 4,000 men of the assassins into the wilderness?" 39, Paul replied, "I am a Jew from Tarsus in Cilicia, a citizen of no obscure city. I beg you, permit me to speak to the people." Right? And so they give him permission. And so 21 is the start of his speech, right? And so he says, "Brothers and fathers, hear the defense and now make before you." No, I'm sorry. "Hear the defense that I now make before you." And when they heard that he was addressing them in the Hebrew language, they became even more quiet, right? Because they're interested, right? He relates to them, and that's kind of important. If I go to another country and I'm trying to tell them about Jesus, but I don't even take the time to learn their customs or learn their language, they don't care what I have to say. And so 3, he says, "I am a Jew born in Tarsus in Cilicia, but brought up in this city, educated at the feet of Gamaliel." And so we looked up Gamaliel in chapter 5, verse 33. They actually talk about Gamaliel, and in chapter 5, oh man. But a Pharisee in the council named Gamaliel, a teacher of the law, held in honor by all the people, stood up and gave orders to put the men outside for a while, right? And so Gamaliel raised up Saul before he converted to Paul, and Saul is like, dude, I'm ready to go out and smash people. And so in chapter 7, I think, is it 8? Yeah, in 8, Saul he asked permission to go out and arrest all these people. And this is his teacher, right? His teacher is Gamaliel. And so part of me thinks, obviously his teacher, put that in his brain at least a little bit, that he thought that was necessary. And so I was brought up at the feet of Gamaliel according to the strict manner of the law of our fathers, being zealous for God, as all of you are this day. I persecuted this way to the death, binding and delivering to prison both men and women. So even in today's society, like it's frowned upon to abuse or assault women and children, right? We still hold women and children in a higher regard, right? The ship sinking, save the women and children. Especially then, right? That was a big thing even with Romans. Like, you went in, you could kill men, and they might take women as slaves and stuff, but they didn't kill them. But he is very openly here saying, "I persecuted and put to death and binded and delivered to prison both men and women." And so he's admitting his wrong. I don't know if it was a conviction and like confessing sin here, but he's almost like becoming vulnerable to these people. And as let me just see what. Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. And as the high priest and the whole council of elders can bear me witness, from them I received letters to the brothers, and I journeyed toward Damascus to take those also who were there and bring them in bonds to Jerusalem to be punished. So if you remember back in 8, he sets out to destroy everybody, and I don't remember if it's in 8. He asks for permission, and he basically says like, "Hey, if you guys want to, um, um, mm, I don't know where it's at. I know it's in 8. Um, oh no, I'm sorry. In chapter 9, it starts out with, but Saul, still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord, went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues at Damascus, so that if he found any belonging to the way, right, belonging to God, men or women, he might bring them bound to Jerusalem. Now, as he went on his way, he approached Damascus, and suddenly a light fell from heaven and shone around him. Now we are in 22, and he says, uh, I asked them for letters, and as I was on my way near Damascus about noon, a great light from heaven suddenly shone around me. And I fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to me, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? So he's recapping exactly what was wrote earlier in this book, right? And he's recapping it all, right? He knows it happened. The group of people that were with him knew that it happened. And now he's telling them, he's given basically his testimony, right? So, you think of people who come out of darkness, who come out of rough things in their life now, right? Let's say addiction, right? Somebody who comes out of addiction says, man, I was walking this life. Jesus came to me. This happened. Boom, I was saved. I'm out of addiction, right? Now this is what my life looks like. And he's saying, there I was, as I drew near to Damascus, right, walking in darkness, a great light shone around me and said, why are you persecuting me? Why are you persecuting Jesus? Why are you killing people in my name or against me? And I answered, who are you, Lord? And he said, or who are you, Lord? And he said to me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom you are persecuting. So he's basically saying, I'm the guy who you're killing these people because you think they're believing in something that's wrong. Now, those who were with me saw the light, but did not understand the voice and one who was speaking to me. And I said, what shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said to me, rise and go into Damascus, and there you will be told all that is appointed for you to do. And since I could not see because of the brightness of that light, I was led by the hand by those who were with me and came into Damascus. And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, well spoken of by all the Jews who lived there, came to me, and standing by me said to me, Brother Saul, receive your sight. And at that very hour I received my sight and saw him. And he said, the God of our fathers appointed you to know his will, to see the righteous one, and to hear a voice from his mouth. For you will be a witness for him to every one of what you have seen and heard. And now why do you wait? Rise and be baptized and wash away your sins, calling on his name. So, if you don't remember, right, Ananias had a vision. God told him, hey, go to Damascus. There's a guy there that's blind. He's waiting for you to show up. At the same time, Saul is having this vision that a guy's going to come. And this is when he becomes Paul, right? Born again, changes his name. This dude shows up, now you can see, and he's just recapping uh, everything that has happened to him. He's standing on these steps, and I don't know how many people there. I'm assuming a lot of people that the Romans got involved and arrested this guy for causing a riot, and they don't like him, right? Because they're now infringing kind of on their freedom a little bit because we're fired up. We're not going to sit here and sit back, but the Romans are going to get mad because we're gathering like this, and so Acts 9. Oh, okay. The notes I have today, we kind of more discussed at the end because this was a recap. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about until afterwards. Then we kind of threw some notes together. But picking up in 17, when I had returned to Jerusalem and was praying in the temple, I fell into a trance and saw him saying to me, make haste and get out of Jerusalem quickly, because they will not accept your testimony about me. right? This is when he was in Jerusalem after um, being changed, right? And not this time. This is when he went there after he got saved before this. And I said, Lord, they themselves know that in one synagogue after another I imprisoned and beat those who believed in you. And when the blood of Stephen, your witness, was being shed, I myself was standing by and approving and watching over the garments of those who killed him. Now, if you remember Stephen, right? Stephen, he's got just a little bit, but super powerful, super amazing story. He's, glowing. He looks into heaven. He sees Jesus sitting next to God. And here's Paul, like, yeah, kill him, dude. Didn't even faze him. Uh, and he said to me, Go, for I will send you far away to the Gentiles. Uh, this is, think about, right? Stephen uh, got stoned, right? Paul watches it happen. Or Saul sitting there watching by, just letting it happen. Almost, I mean, you think he's probably happy a little bit, like, man, just another one of them Christians dead. That's what I'm talking about. These people talking about this dude raising from the dead. It's crazy, right? Now, God comes to him, blinds him. Now he can see, and now he's sitting there going, man, you can't use me. I was persecuting your people, right? Uh, and then 22, up to his word, they listened to him. Then they raised their voices and said, Away with such a fellow from the earth, right? Now, we're no longer recapping, we're back to the steps, right? Away with such a fellow from the earth, for he should not be allowed to live. And as they were shouting and throwing off their cloaks and flinging dust into the air, the tribune ordered him to be brought into the barracks, saying that he should be examined by flogging to find out why they were shouting against him like this, right? Basically, kind of torture him a little bit to get the truth out of him. But when they had stretched him out for the whips, Paul said to the centurion who was standing by, Is it lawful for you to flog a man who is a Roman citizen and uncondemned? Right? He's basically saying, like, dude, I'm just like you. I'm a Roman. Do I not get a fair trial? Um, when the centurion heard this, he went into the tribune and said to him, What are you about to do? For this man is a Roman citizen. So the tribune came and said to him, Tell me, are you a Roman citizen? He said, Yes. The tribune answered, I bought this citizenship for a large sum. Paul said, But I am a citizen by birth. Right? So this is huge because he is like blood of a Roman, where this dude bought into the citizenship. Right? And so he's like, You're going to beat me. You're going to whip me. Do you understand what kind of problems this is going to bring on you if you go and beat a Roman without a fair trial? And 29, so those who were about to examine him withdrew from him immediately, and the tribune also was afraid, for he realized that Paul was a Roman citizen and that he had bound him. But on the next day, desiring to know the real reason why he was being accused by the Jews, he unbound him and commanded the chief priests and all the council to meet and be brought. And he brought Paul down and set him before them. So, big chain of events, right? Because if you think about, oh man, let's say, well, I can remember when I was right before I got to Afghanistan or right after. It was either right before my third deployment or right after my third deployment. There was like a prince from England over there, and they were like, "Whoa, you can't be here." And so, but they didn't realize that he was the prince, or maybe they did realize, but his family didn't know. I don't know. One way or the other, it was like a big deal, and they got him out of there. And all of a sudden, it was like, "Oh my gosh, we didn't know who you were." And it's the same thing, right? Where, uh, you know, you're you're the son of somebody important, you get pulled over, they're getting ready to arrest you, and it's like, dude, do you know? No, I'm not saying that that's how it should be by any means, but especially in this position, right? Paul, the only reason, it's the same thing with Jesus, right? When he's standing there, it's like, and what have you done wrong? Like, oh, he thinks he's a king. Do you think you're a king? My kingdom's not of this world. All right, well, I don't really know. I can't really put you to death, dude. I'm going to beat you, but. And then the Jews are just screaming, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him, just because it goes against what they want to believe. That's the same thing here, right? Is like, they're like, yeah, kill him. He deserves death. And the Romans are like, yeah, we'll beat him. We'll get the truth out of him. And then he's like, whoa, dude, just remember I'm a Roman. I get a fair trial. Like, let's have a conversation here before you go and beat me. And what they're scared. They're like, man, I'm gonna get in trouble because I arrested and was gonna beat another Roman, right? This is big, right? We don't treat other Romans like that. At least they acted that way. Um, and so one of the big things we talked about, right, is Stephen. Man, Stephen has just an amazing story. He's like one of my all-time favorites. And I had another guy last time. He said, "Man, I watched your video, but man, I'm very disappointed. You did not give Steven enough credit. Like, I love Steven, and you did not emphasize him enough." And so I'm going to do it now. Steven's testimony is phenomenal. Steven's story is phenomenal. The dude gets stoned, and the whole time he's just staring up at heaven, right? One of the only people while still on earth, like gazing into heaven. I would say one of the only. It's hard to say if like Enoch got to or uh, but I mean one of the only people, and he glowed. He was so full of the Holy Spirit, he was just glowing, like light radiating from this dude. Uh, so that's huge, right? And Stephen, right? Paul remembers that. Out of all the people he persecuted, out of all the people that he arrested, he remembers this man that was stoned, that was so uh, in love with Jesus and so like chasing after that. So Stephen died early on in the Acts of the Apostles, but yet his testimony helped lead Saul to becoming Paul, which helped Paul then spread the gospel to so many places and write most of the New Testament. Of course, he didn't know he was writing the New Testament. He was just writing letters, but we put them together. And so it's like, man, he writes these things, he does all these things, and yet it's still impacting him. And he's sitting there asking God, how can you use me when this is what I was doing, and yet God used him to do such big things? So, I mean, I haven't gone out and killed, or tried to arrest a bunch of Christians. I made fun of plenty of them. I tried to corrupt a pile of them. I didn't care what they had to say. I did my own thing before I was in relationship with Christ, and I can honestly say that I looked at my sin like, man, there's no way, right? I can't be saved. God can't use me. But he definitely can. He can use you. No sin is too great. No amount of sin is too great. It's not like one sin is greater than the other, and yet, if I filled up my sin cup and it's overflowing, and sorry, God, you can't help me, because Saul was there, man. He was after it. And so don't let the lie that you have too much sin or your sin is too great or your sin's worse than somebody else's sin. I think that's one of the number one things that the church does a bad job of, is they put a lot of emphasis on what they consider like big sin, the big visual sins, and the things that they want to talk about. And they want to talk about, homosexuality, and they want to talk about abortion, and they want to talk about, adultery, and they want to talk about, stealing. Maybe I don't even know if they talk about that. I know they talk about like adultery, cheating on your wife, and some of them will talk about premarital sex, and some of them will talk about porn. But the big one is like homosexuality, and I would say abortion. I would say they're the two big ones that churches will talk about. But you do not hear them talking about gossip. You do not hear them talking about bearing false witness. You do not hear them talking about keeping a clean mouth. You do not like staying sober. You don't hear them talking about those things uh, because they play them off as small sins. Um, and so, somebody who has dealt with a sin that's more talked about then feels like that sin is a bigger sin, which makes them feel even less likely to be saved, or uh, more unfavorable. But that's not right. That's not true. God forgives all sin, all amount of sin. All sin is the same. Sin is sin is sin is sin. And it sounds so cliche-ish, but like, me stealing that Snickers bar is the same as this person murdering somebody in God's eyes, right? Obviously, he doesn't want you to murder nobody, and he don't want me to steal a Snickers bar. And this seems like a much smaller sin, but it's still a sin. Um, but they're all forgiven the same. And you look at a guy like Saul, man, he got saved and then used and did amazing, powerful things, and became Paul. And some stuff, right? There's been a lot of us. I'm moving on to prayer and praise and prayer requests. Praises. A couple good things happened in some people's lives this week, health wise, financial wise, work wise, big time blessings. But on the flip side of that, man, Satan is working overtime. He's been attacking some people, just with their faith, trusting God, with finances and things that are moving forward, and things that are going well. Man, he's trying to destroy them, and letting anxiety creep in, and fear. Really, it's a lot of fear, just a fear of failure, and fear of, I don't know how to say it without putting too much information out there on their information and stuff. But this isn't just for them. This is for the whole group, man. Satan's working overtime on all of us. So just keep lifting us up in prayer. Keep praying that we grow, and the youth ministry, that grows and takes off. Right, our men's ministry constantly having new faces, constantly growing. It's awesome. You know, families that have a father or a husband that are in relationship with Christ have a much better chance of being saved than that don't. Uh, but looking at the community side of things, saving some of these kids, um, can really change the way the community goes as well. So keep praying for those things. Thank you for staying with us. We're almost done the book of Acts. I'm not sure yet if we're going to jump right into another book, um, or if we're going to discuss a topic or two. I don't want to get too topical. That kind of gets burnt, and I feel like you step too far away from the word. But if there's a book that you'd like to hear, uh, or like us to go through, I've got a few that I got ideas for, but I'd like to hear from you guys first. So let us know. And we'll see you guys next week. Acts 23. God bless you guys. If you need prayer from us, please hit us up, rob@theforgetc.com. And feel free to stop in at the Forge anytime.